Hey, Pastor Steve here, and I believe that I have a word from the Lord for you today, and that word is believe. Did you know that God wants you to believe everything that He says, not only the things that He does in your life? You know, we sometimes don't believe God until we actually see the results of something. You know, you believe for your salvation. That's probably one of the only things that you didn't actually see yet, and yet you absolutely believe that you're going to heaven. So why not take that form of belief and tuck it away? And yet, you know, even the disciples ran into issues like this. Check this out. This is Mark chapter 16. Now go and tell the disciples, including Peter, that Jesus is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see Him there just as He told you before He died. You know, Mary runs off. She goes to tell the disciples, and what do? They don't believe her. Mark 16:11. But when she told them that Jesus was alive and she had seen Him, they didn't believe her. Well, okay, that's one person, they didn't believe it. But you know, Jesus had told them that He was going to raise from the dead. He would meet them in Galilee. You know, the only people that believed that were the Pharisees. They sealed the tomb and tried to keep Him in the grave. We also see another instance of this. Remember the two guys on the road to Emmaus? Mark 16:12. Afterwards, He appeared in a different form to two of His followers who were walking from Jerusalem into the country. You know, He appears to them, and what do? They turn around, they rush back to tell the other disciples, and they didn't believe Him either. So you have three witnesses that are telling the disciples, hey, Jesus rose from the dead. We saw Him. We had an interaction with Him. He spoke to us, and yet they still didn't believe. You know, this goes from the form of, well, that just can't possibly happen, to stubborn unbelief. But a lot of us absolutely will not believe until we actually see the events of God happening. What we need to do is we need to start believing what it is that He tells us. Mark 16:13 says that the two disciples rushed back to tell the others, but guess what? They didn't believe Him either. You know, it's really amazing because the only time that they believed is when Jesus shows up. Mark 16:14 tells us that still later He appeared to the 11 disciples as they were eating together. He rebuked them for their stubborn unbelief because they refused to believe those who had seen Him after He had risen from the dead. You know, this stubborn unbelief that they were rebuked for can actually be contagious. The more that I start not believing, the more that others around me are actually affected by that as well. And yet our belief can actually be contagious also. So start believing what it is that God tells you. You know, even when there were 10 other apostles telling doubting Thomas that Jesus had appeared to them, he still wanted to stick his finger in the nail holes and put his hand in his side. And yet he didn't believe until he saw either. You know, and then he gets this name of doubting Thomas. We don't want to fall into that category. For Jesus told us in Mark 16:16, anyone who believes and is baptized will be saved, but anyone who refuses to believe will be condemned. You know, we're not going to go to hell for not believing that God's going to heal us, but we can not receive our healing and we can go to heaven a heck of a lot easier if we don't start believing what it is that God tells us. So why not do that? Why not step up and say, Lord, I do believe. Help me in with my unbelief. Doesn't that sound familiar? It's all biblical. Hey, take a look at this. This is the word that I believe that the Lord's given to me for you today. Will you believe all that you've heard about me, or will you need to see me? When you believe first before seeing, the result pleases me and demonstrates a true faith. I've given you ears to go with your eyes. You can trust both of them when dealing with me. You know, God wants the very best for us. And I'm sure that there are different ways that we can actually access that. But the best way to do that is to believe. So why not take this post and share it on Facebook? You're more than welcome to go to YouTube and check out our videos there. You can also subscribe to our channel and get even more. You can go to our webpage at awfg.today and download all of our videos. Get a hold of some of the resources. We've got specials on each one of those pages. I encourage you to check them all out. Well, God bless you, and I hope to hear from each and every one of you.